All right, so everyone come to attention position, feet together, back straight. Always start with respect, good bow. All right, shake those arms out, get those arms loosened up. Start moving around a little bit. Get that body awake, get that mind awake. Let's get present focus, right? Think about where we are, what we're doing. We're practicing our martial arts skills, trying to get better. Work that way towards black belt or that next degree of black belt. All right, let's start moving those legs. Jumping jacks first, in and out with those feet. So keep your feet going in and out. All right, side to side. So bounce those feet side to side. Just hopping back and forth. Nothing too complicated, pretty easy to do. Forward and back. Yeah, tense up that core. Don't let yourself fall down. Don't jump too far forward or too far back. Regularly jumping jacks again. Okay, forward and back. So you're doing like this. A little scissoring motion. Forward and back. Regularly jumping jacks again. Try to jump higher. Jump, 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 jump. Okay, regular jumping jacks again. This time a little bit lower, so start to bend your knees. So you're bending your knees. Stand the balls of your feet. Just going in and out. How low can you get those legs? Right? Having a seat almost. Regular jumping jacks and relax, okay? Have a seat. Do straddle stretch, so toes are up. Back is straight, legs are straight. Walk your fingers out. Keeping your shoulders back. Trying to get a good stretch on those legs. Bring those elbows down. Keeping those toes back. Breathing in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Leaning side to side. Start walking those hands out again. Stretching. We're trying to lean side to side. Individually stretch each leg and give it a little breather. Okay, you're going to breathe in through your nose. As you exhale, lower your elbows. Breathe in through your nose. Exhale, lower your elbows. Staying there, relax into that stretch position. Side to side. Walk the fingers out so the arms are straight. Lifting that chin, start to arch that back, force those hips to rotate forward. All right, start to bring those elbows down. All right, walk yourself back, feet together, butterfly position. Bounce your knees a little bit. Get those legs loose, get them flexible, right? Then you make it back down to the school, you impress everyone with your new high level of kicking. Remember to be doing your slow kicks, try and get about 10 slow kicks a day on each leg, and then try to do various styles. So do 10 front on each leg, 10 round, 10 side, 10 pumps, 10 hooks, whatever it might be. Try to get at least 10. 10's pretty easy to accomplish, it only takes a little bit of your day. You can probably do it while you're waiting in line to use the bathroom at home. All right, grab those legs, push down. Use your elbows, force those legs down. Hopefully you're having a good day so far. If you're not, hopefully this makes your day a little bit better, at least while you're watching this video. All right, hopefully we have at least some part of our day that makes us happy. Hopefully return that favor to other people, give them a little more smile, be just a little bit nicer. And when you want to say mean things, just wait a little bit first, see if the thought goes away. All right, stretch that hip out, put that foot over your leg, slide your foot up, stretch out your hips, just sit up nice and tall. Arching that back, stretch it into that hip, or arch back, lift your chin, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. On the exhales, when we try to push into the stretch a little bit. Switching the legs, other foot over the top. Slide it up. Keeping that chin up, keeping that back straight. go flat on your back. Let's pull that knee across your body. So knee across, reaching your arm the opposite direction. And the other way. Pull that knee across your body. Reach your hand the opposite direction. All right. Let your back roll over onto your belly. Put your hands on the side of your body, push. Lock those arms, start to arch back, looking up. All right, sit up onto those knees. Turning forward, ready, step one foot out. Put your knee right over the top of your heel. Hands on the ground, walk your other leg backwards. Getting those palms down, starting to sink those hips lower into that stretch. I'm going to start to pivot my right shoulder. Since my right leg is behind me, I'm going to pivot my right shoulder forward. So I'm rotating, trying to lengthen that stretch out. Working on getting your shoulders lower, give it a little stretch, go a little lower. Start working on getting those elbows down to the floor, keeping that knee up above your heel. I'm going to switch the other foot. So other foot out. Step it up, put your knee right over the top of your heel. Hands down, walk your leg backwards. Those hips stretch a little bit first before we put too much stress on them. Start to pivot that shoulder forward, so rotate your shoulder forward. Working on getting lower, start to let your arms bend, lower yourself down a little bit. On pivot, try and get those elbows down if you can. Still trying to keep my knee over my heel. Stretching those hips out. Okay, come back up. Both knees on the ground. One leg out to the side of you. So I put my foot out to the side. I'm going to put my weight down on my hands again. I'm going to walk my knee and my feet out. So I'm just going to walk. I'm trying to spread them apart. I'm keeping one leg bent, one leg straight. Putting a lot of weight on my hands. So my legs are light and able to stretch. I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I'm going to go down to my elbows. Bring myself a little bit lower. Just constantly letting that foot slide out. Breathe in through my nose. A little bit farther on the exhale. Okay, bringing your foot back in again. So your leg comes back in. Other foot goes out. Toes are back, so we're not going to have our toes pointed. Our toes are back on the ground. Hands go down to support the weight first. Then start to slide your legs apart. Elbows come down if you're at a comfortable level for it. Just sliding them out, slowly moving them. Keeping your leg 90 degrees on the other side. Breathing in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Not trying to sit on the floor, trying to keep our seat as high as we can as we slide our legs out. Okay, weight on your hands, bring your feet back in. All right, hop on up, shake those legs out. Let's get a start to this show. Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to be just kind of bouncing on our toes. And then we'll be doing a pause and then mechanics. So obviously if these are very easy for you, I want you the first couple of times to just kind of check your own mechanics to make sure you're doing it right. If this is new to you, then just stay at the pace that I'm going. So I'm going to turn belly towards you, and I'll be thinking of moving left and right, okay? So what I'm going to be doing is bouncing on my feet. Just kind of bouncing, real easy. Then I'm going to stop. I'm going to take my foot. I'm going to use what's your left side. I'm going to step and turn my foot, okay? So what I'm going to be doing is kicking this way. So I'm going to angle my foot. Now normally if I throw any kind of kick, hook kick, round kick, side kick, my heel would move, my toes would hold still because I'm trying to rotate my power, my hips, and my momentum into the target. On this, we're thinking defensive. So now what I'm doing is instead of rotating my hips this way using my heel, I'm stepping with my toes and going back. I'm trying to get my foot outside of my hips, right? I don't want to be standing on top of my foot, and I don't have time to move forward because a person is attacking. So what I'm doing is I'm stepping, creating space and time, okay? So just bounce in, step the foot. We're going to turn the toes, we're going to bend the knee, okay? And you can start to rotate side to side. I'm going to go the other way. I step my foot outside of my hip, and I bend my knee. So my hip is actually not over my heel, right? My hips are on this side, my heel's on that side. So bounce in, and I step, okay? Bounce in, step. So this would be real important when we're trying to stop the momentum of someone coming forward. If my heel's underneath me, and I throw my kick, and I meet too much resistance, or too heavy, not kicking hard enough, right? There's nothing stopping me from bouncing off and getting pushed away from the person. By putting my foot outside of my hip, right, so my hips are here, my heel is there, now if I'm standing and I'm kicking, I meet resistance, this leg's like a kickstand. It'll stop me from falling over and going backwards. That's why I hold my ground, right? Then we hit people and we just rock them. Okay, so ready, bounce in, ready, step. And it doesn't matter which way you step with. I'm just going to alternate kind of every other, or maybe if I don't feel the one I want there, okay, I wait till I feel a good one before I switch. And I'm just that stepping motion, it's just stepping. Right, turning my foot. Okay, so now let's add to it. So our first thing is step, our next one is we're going to bend. So I'm actually going to put a bend in your leg. So we're going to go step, and then we're going to bend. So I'm trying to get my knee over my heel, my hips are in front of my heel. So if this is my target, my hips are actually closer to the target than my heel is, okay? And then I'm going to bend my leg, chamber, and back down. So I'm not going to try to balance on my foot. It's a little bit different from how some of you guys are used to. So we're going to go here, bend. My knees over my heel, my hips are in front of my heel, chamber, and down. So you see even when I chamber, I'm keeping a bend in my legs. So I'm trying to keep myself here. I'm not trying to go like this and stand on my foot. That's what causes you to get knocked backwards. Have you ever had a person in class come forward with a shield or in sparring class, right, and you kick them and you bounce off? This is because of the standing heel. So we're trying to learn how to stop that action. And I've even seen advanced belts make this mistake where they kick and fall backwards. So bouncing, step, heel, knees over the heel, hips are in front of the heel, chamber. And all we're doing is pick up, step down. So ready, bounce in, step, chamber. Just focus on this line. Focus on where your heel is and your hip is. Bounce in, chamber, chamber. Now I'm also not going to, on this side kick right now, bring my knee back so that my knee is even with my toes. It would force me to stand up tall on my foot, which I don't want, right? And it would cause me to rotate my shoulders the opposite direction I'm trying to apply my power, okay? So bounce in, step, knee over the heel, chamber. Now when I chamber, I want to make sure that my leg is pointed in a straight line wherever my target is. So if this is my target here, and you can see this, I don't want my heel like this, okay? My leg is on this line, right? The target is attacking on this line. So I need to make sure that there's a straight line between my heel and my knee that aims at that target. You never want to have your shin pointed on a side kick, okay? So we're bouncing, step, and I'm thinking about trying to get a straight line, like I'm aiming down the sights of something, like I'm going to fire an arrow line. I want a straight line between my knee, my heel, and where I'm going to hit my opponent. So bounce in, step, chamber, right? And I'm not standing tall on my foot. All right, one more time with this step. Step, remember, behind, chamber. Now, if you have something you're going to hit, if you have a weight master at home, right, or just someone who needs good kicking, you're going to have to start closer, because otherwise when you step back, you'll create too much space, and you'll miss. You won't be able to hit the target. For those of us who are just kicking at the air, then we just need to make sure we don't hit anyone. So we're bouncing, here, kick. Now my chamber is going to be about 90 degrees max. Let me explain this to some of the people who aren't math people, right? So if you look at my leg, right, there's a 90-degree angle in my leg. This is the most bent I want it, okay? So 90 degrees. I don't want my foot close to my seat right now. Not for what we're doing, not for the time and the distancing that we're focused on. So this is too small of an angle, make it too hard to push back out. Like when you do push-ups and you're at the bottom of your push-up, that's really hard for people to kind of lock their arms. But if they only went down to a 90-degree angle, it'd be much easier. So we're trying to make sure that we can stiff arm the person with our heel and allow a lot of their momentum coming forward to stop them. So my degree angle on my leg is going to be this 90. When I make contact, I'm going to try to actually get my leg out to 135 and then to the 180. Okay, so remember, this angle here, this is what I'm looking for. It's 90-degree angle chamber. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit out in front. So it's not going to be way back here because a lot of times you don't have the power when you're standing foot and your legs bent to actually create enough force to stop someone. Okay, so ready? Let's look at that chamber. So we're bouncing, step, and chamber. So my leg is still pointed straight ahead, so it's going to be out in front of me a little bit. This is the reason for the step, is to create space to bring my chamber up. If I don't create enough space, let's say I'm balancing, I bring my chamber like this, it'll get stuck, right? It would run into whatever I'm trying to get my leg up and kick. If I create enough space, right, I can now make that kick happen. So bounce in, ready, step, don't hit your leg, boom. You can see that when I'm standing though, my hip stays behind that heel. This way if I lock this leg, I push myself to the target. So ready, bounce in, teeth into side kick. Ready, bounce in. Make sure when you're bringing your leg up again, so keep kicking, just you keep kicking. When you're bringing your leg up, make sure you're pointed in a straight line. This way it comes straight out. I wouldn't punch you like this, right? Come in a straight line with your knuckles. So same thing with your heel. When I punch, I'm going to get my knuckles and my elbow lined up, right? Same thing with your heel and your knees. So bounce in, keep going. When you kick like this, it'll be like a stiff arm. You ever watch like football, someone runs up and they stiff arm someone and the person's body just stops and collapses, right? Same mentality. Or you create what we call a taco when you're sparring or you're fighting someone, right? They come forward and their body just folds around your leg. Oh, like a taco because you're standing so strong. So you balance it. Taco time, right? Taco time. One more time. Taco time. So if we're working on our defensive side kick, you want to just stick people. You want to stop people dead in their tracks so they can't run through. Even if they're bigger than you, you need those things. That way you have your bone alignment and you have your kick staying on the ground. Okay? Another defensive technique I want to talk about more from an intermediate level, where we focus on it, would be called a ridge hand. Okay, so if you take your hand and you kind of just put it open, right? Get your fingers as stretched out as far as you can, and then you put your thumb on the side, and then put your fingers together. You've got a nice blade, right? Now instead of my thumb being here on the side of my hand, I'm going to tuck it to the inside, and I'm thinking about hitting it right on this blade of my arm, right? I don't want to hit with my fingers because it'll cause wrist pain. I don't want to hit here on my knuckles because, again, it'll cause wrist pain. So I'm trying to actually hit up on my wrist. So I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to lock it out, and I'm just going to pivot my hips like I would on a punch or an elbow or a palm heel strike. I'm going to swing. A way for you to gather the concept of how much power you have. Imagine if you have a tennis ball tied to a string, right? Your string is this long, so the tennis ball's right here, and I spin in a circle, right? And the tennis ball hits you, it's not going to hurt very much, right? Okay? But if the tennis ball was on a string this long and I was spinning in that same circle at the same speed, it would hurt more. So the farther off from your body, the more power it's going to deliver when it hits the target, or the more pain. Okay? So if I get in a stance, I'm going to take my hand and wind it up. This is long-range technique, which means winds up are a little bit more acceptable. If I was here and I tried to wind up, I would get hit first. Okay? So I'm going to have my hand back behind me, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to swing my hips and my shoulders. So I'm going to pivot. I'm going to try and leave my hand as far back as I can. So this way I get the momentum from the pivot first, my hand comes second. Now if you're hitting something right now, let's say a big weight master or someone, you need to be careful with your elbow. If you hit a big enough object that doesn't move and your hand hits, it's going to cause your elbow to straighten. Now if you keep driving past that point, you're going to hurt your elbow. You're going to hyperextend it. So be very careful. You hit with the right amount of force for the target you're hitting, or you keep a slight bend. So what I might do is keep a slight bend in my elbow as I make contact. Too big of a bend and I hit my fingers again, okay? So think of that, safety of your elbow, start softer. So I'm in my stance, widen my hand up, I'm going to shift my weight because I want to draw my weight in, which I'll show you another purpose in a second for this shift. But I draw my weight in, I rotate my hip and my shoulder, leaving my hand behind. It's kind of like a back leg round kick wind up. I want to build up that stretch like a big roll ramp. So I'm working on shifting forward, pivoting my hip. Shift forward, pivot my hip, and then right when I feel like my body's about to stop, I want to swing that hand. This way my hand goes while I still have my momentum of the pivot and the shifting, and then I smack the target, right? Then I'll keep my thumb out of the way, hitting the ridge of my hand, making my cross right on the eye socket, right in the nose, right across the jaw. You can hit them in the solar plexus, right? So we're just shifting, pivoting, and swinging. Right, with strikes. It's going to be stronger than your punch when you make contact the right way. Okay? So we shift, rotate, and swing. Okay? So shift, rotate, and swing. Okay, if we look at the other side, let's do a couple of the other side. So in my stance, I have a good long range block up in front of me. Longer ranges, this is an acceptable blocking system. I have time to watch out for my feet to get grabbed. I have time to see things coming and blocking. If I was here, I wouldn't have time to see. I wouldn't have the time to see it coming. I wouldn't be able to block with a stance. But remember, we're longer range. We're loading up to maximum. So my arm is back behind me, right? I have my ridge motion, so I'm going to be hitting on the inside of my wrist. My front hand is up in front blocking. I'm going to be shifting my weight. I'm using my hip to rotate, driving with my back foot. And I'm swinging my shoulders across. So I have my pivoting motion and my shifting motion together. So I start shifting my weight, I add my rotation, then I add my swing, right? Making contact. Watch out for your elbow. Make sure you keep a slight bend in your elbow. So I swing, right? Swing, swing. One more time, swing. Okay, so that's our ridge hand. Now let me tell you more of the application we want to use it for. So now that we understand how to throw a ridge hand, we can practice that, but the application we want to throw it for is something I call a duck behind, right? Or slipping, like if you're boxing, you're like slipping a jab. So we're going to imagine I have an opponent. This will be the opponent. He's staring at you like this. His belly's open to this direction. So I would fight in an open stance, right? So his belly, or her belly, whoever I'm hitting, his belly that way, my belly, so open stance, right? I would line up not with my opponent, but I would purposely line up my feet behind. So if you see this angle, my body, my feet are lined up on this angle here, right? I'm not on a straight line with my feet, okay? As soon as I feel my opponent coming forward, if they're throwing their front hand out, so they're coming forward here, okay? A lot of times they're blocking here, and I would have the bottom rib and the solar plexus. Or they're blocking here, and then I have the side of their face, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be in my stance. I'm going to shift, but now you can see how I'm shifting and I'm leaning behind the person. Right? So I'm shifting and leaning behind. So I'm not leaning towards them, I'm leaning behind them. And then I have the pivot and the ridge hand. So when the person comes forward, their jab, our head's going to sneak behind, and then we can clip the side of their head or hit them in the body. Okay? This also would be another good thing to research. We have videos on framing. You would need to frame to make this work in real life because you frame up a target so they come at it. You have to find out some other videos on that. So in our stance, right when the person goes, we duck. We move our head off the line. So I want to move my head off the line. So as I'm leaning, I move my head so if that hand comes, it goes past. And then we hit. It could be the head, it could be the body, wherever we're going. You can do the same duck behind motion with a punch. If you want to do the defensive punch, you turn your thumb down. Okay? This way I can come over the top. So I have the same stance, I have the same frame. I punch and I turn my thumb down. And then I can go over the top and keep it real close and make good contact with my knuckles with thumb down. Okay? So I would drive right into their nose with my thumb down. So as the person leads in with a jab, I duck behind and I punch with my thumb down. Now if I was punching to the body, then I could keep my hand sideways. That would be perfectly fine. Punch straight off of my shoulder here. But if I'm striking to the head, it's a thumb down technique. So When I say go, we'll get repetition. I'll pretend the person's striking at me, and I'm going to rotate between doing my ridge hand and some of my punches also. Okay? So ready? Good stance. Go. Practice the ducky motion. Go. 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 Okay? Do the other side. So we're in our stance. We purposely line up our feet. I'm going to change just an angle so you can kind of see stuff. I'm still looking at my opponent this way and lining up my feet this way. So I'm not lining up my feet with them. This way when I shift my knee, I automatically draw my head off that center line. And I'm just going to keep rotating between maybe body ridge hands, over the top to the head ridge hands, body punches, or over the top. Remember, that's a thumb down punch, so you can hit with my two knuckles properly. If you try and punch high, you can't punch properly. You'll hit with these fingers here, right, unless you turn your hand over. Okay? So we're in our stance, right when they go, go, and come in. Go, 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 go. And every time I imagine, I see a target, right? You look at a clock on the wall, you look at anything, and you have to move your head. Imagine that target is coming straight to your face. You have to move your head. Let's do 3 more. Ready? So I'm moving my head offline. I'm looking right at this number 2, and I'm trying to move my head. Go. 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 So I'm going off that line. Okay? So we have defensive side kick. We have a defensive ridge hand. Right? So we use a ridge hand defensively. We have the person come in at us. And we have another defensive technique we like to throw in sparring called defensive punch. Okay? Now, I'm going to just turn my body towards you for a second. We'll imagine that you're standing like this, left side in front. Okay? So you go left hand in front, same as me, that's this hand over here. And now I have left side in front. So if we're facing each other, and I'm standing like so, again, framing, there's a separate video on this one, framing, your target would be either your punch or your jab to my face. Right? Every other target is blocked. You can try kicking, but that's not going to work right now. Okay? So when you strike at my face, I already know where the strike is going. I block, and I punch. The problem is, you're aiming at this distance. So your second strike might also hit me in the face. As I'm trying to throw my strike, you might beat me. You might go 1, 2. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to create space and draw you to me. This way you're not knowing the proper distance to be striking. Okay? So if I'm in my stance, I'll do it for you first. You're coming forward. I'm going to step back in my stance. So I'm trying to lower myself down to 1, change the level of my target. Because if your punch comes like this, eventually it's going to hit. I want your punch to come like this, right? Over my head. So we're here. We step back and drop. Drop. So I work those biceps. Drop. We're getting underneath their arms. So I'm going to drop. I'm going to pivot. So I'm going to try to drop into a pivoted position, right? So I'm getting lower. I'm changing this. So I'm slightly moving back. And I'm moving down. So as you throw the strike, bang, I'm going to get down low. I'm going to let the person come to me, and I drop that level. So the things I want to have happen, my front arm shields my face and blocks the arm out of the way. I step back with a foot, I pivot the foot, I bend the knees, and I punch. So there's a lot of things going on, right? So you can practice them step by step. Good review. Otherwise, you can just go fast, okay? But I'm blocking and punching. Same time, because if I block the first punch, and then I throw the second one, their second punch is now coming, right? Because they throw the first, I throw my first. Now they're throwing their second punch, I'm throwing it. That's not good for me. I need to be punching during their first strike they're missing on. So I'm blocking and hitting them while their first strike is going on, okay? So it's block and punch. We're just taking arm, we're lifting up, good shield block, roof block, and punch. High block motion, same. So imagine, watch this, my elbow, my fist move same time, right? Same time, okay? And I step and I drop same time. And then I want to take this motion and put them together. Right? Same time. Okay, I'm going to do some on the other side. So it's the same concept. Block and punch. Same exact time, no difference in the timing. They both start together. It's kind of like I'm going to touch my elbow and my fist together, and I'm going to try and make them go same time, right? That would be the mentality. The stepping back and squatting, right? So you get used to that motion. Get used to the pivot. Step, drop, pivot. And then we put them together. One. 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 One more. Okay, so we have defensive side kick. We have ridge hands. We have defensive punch. When we talked about the ridge hands, we did it as a duck behind motion, meaning we were trying to dodge an oncoming attack and throw the ridge hands, kind of like an intercepting technique. Okay. We also talked about that punch could be a duck behind punch. So coming off that, remember my thumb turns down. Okay. The last technique I like to use defensively, now this is going to be a little more advanced one, is going to be a jump, turn, side kick defensively. And if people think of it as a harder move, it's actually only hard to time. It's not hard to do. Okay, so let's get some repetition on it real quick, and then we'll get some practice there. So now my feet are here. There's a line between my feet. Okay, I cross my feet, and I come back. And if you've been in a lot of class with me, obviously you know this, right? Cross and back. We just like to do this so I get used to moving my feet. It's one of my normal workouts, right? Okay, so that's step one, cross feet. Pause if you need to. Okay, so we hop, turn our feet. Both feet turn, right? So that's the next step. Now I might be losing some of you if you haven't done this a lot with me in the past. I'm going to kind of race through the steps so we get into what I want to work on. So we're stepping. And then all we do is when we turn our feet, right, I just pick up my back leg. Whatever one is behind, I just pick it up. That's a jump, turn, side kick. So if I'm facing this one, I'm going to cross my feet, right, step one. Cross my feet, turn is two. Cross my feet, turn, and lift. All I do is lift my leg. I didn't kick, and I have to strike outward. Just lift. So if I'm bouncing here, right, and I try to stay right here. Watch my distance. So I try to stay right in the same spot. Who's going to win? The person punching or the person jumping, spinning, and kicking? Right? Punching. Punching's going to win because it's fast. Boom, done. Right? You can't jump, turn, kick as fast as I can punch. So distancing plays a key. Just like we did earlier on our defensive side kick, when we step backwards, we need to create space. So if you see this line here, all right, I'm going to put my front foot on this line. Okay, hopefully you can see that line. When I throw my jump, turn, side kick, watch where I go. So I'm here. Now, look it. When I step down, see that space I created? None of my feet are close to that line. So I created that much space with my jump kick. Because what I'm doing is I'm taking this foot and I'm making it land where this foot is. So if I have two spots on the floor, I want this foot to go where this one is, and this one to pick up and kick, right? Okay? So now, you can practice, if you have something, you practice right next to it, right, real close, and then you practice creating space as you jump, turn, kick. If you don't, you just look at a spot on the floor you can recognize, and you practice hopping backwards, okay? But you have to be very good at distancing or very fast if you don't create space on this kick. And that's why it doesn't work for a lot of people. The timing and people just don't react well enough, or you're just not moving and creating space, right? It's usually not the difficulty of the technique. So I'm going to be imagining my opponent's coming from this direction. I'm bouncing out my feet, and then I'm going to say go, and when I say go, I'm going to react. Ready, go. Boom, turn, jump, kick. Now, the way that I get across the ground is I take this leg and I push myself. So I push myself backwards as part of my jump. So I'm jumping off both feet and scissoring, but I'm pushing myself backwards. So I push with my leg to make myself move across the ground. Okay, that's kind of a drastic jump. I don't need that much jump, but I need space. So bounce in, jump, turn, kick. Bounce in, jump, turn, kick. So bounce in, jump, turn. So I want to create that space. Now, if you're faster, you're better at distance, you're better timing, you might not create that much space. You might just create a tiny, you might only move an inch or two, and that might be enough, right? Have you ever sparred with someone, right? Or you watch a fight where one person's just like, they're just moving and the person's missing them by just a little tiny bit, right? Because they have just superb timing and distancing. If that's you, you don't need a big hop on your jump turn side kick. You just need that inch to make up for their covering the ground, okay? So we're bouncing, boom, jump turn, right? If you got a little bit slower, maybe like this. Right, maybe you're covering a lot of ground, okay? Let's go the opposite way. So we're bouncing. This leg pushes me this way. So I push, and then I jump off both feet, switch to bring my leg up, okay? So I'm pushing. I'm going to give you another key in a second that'll help you if you're trying to do it with someone. So you push, hop turn kick, okay? And remember on a jump turn side kick, if you're trying to drill someone, that's fine. If you're fighting full contact, don't use this unless you're good at it, in which case, then maybe if you're good at it, right, then you can afford that risk of full contact using it, but you got to kick pretty hard to drill the person. But if I get the person coming forward, they're running in. Like imagine if my leg was out and you ran forward into it. That's going to hurt. So we don't need a lot of kicking power. We have rotational power, and we have our opponent's speed, right? So when I kick, I don't need a lot of leg locking. That's why I just lift my leg up. And when I'm lifting my leg up, if you watch here, when I kick, again, I'm trying to hit that 90-degree angle on my leg. I don't want my leg chained tight into my seat where I don't have the ability to kick outward. Okay? So we're bouncing, jump turn side. I'm going to do 2 more. Hopefully you've been doing them the whole time, just listening to me talk. 1 more. Gotta go 1 more time. Okay, so that's our jump turn side kick. Now, let's think of something. We're going to do this for our defensive punch. We're going to do it for our defensive side kick and for our defensive jump turn side kick. Whichever one is up to you, right? I'll show you the footwork for all 3. Not necessarily the case with the ridge hand, though. Sorry, this one won't work on what we do with the ducking arm. Okay, so if I have my weight on my back leg, right? So let's say I'm facing this opponent, right? And I want to draw them into striking. This is a lot of ground. They're probably not likely to do it, or they're going to take out this leg in some way. Okay? And if I try to step from here, it's very hard to create more space. I'm already shifted away. So now watch what I do. If I'm going to do the side kick, right? My feet are sideways. I shift forward. So how close am I to the wave master, right? Okay? Pretty close. Now watch. Without even stepping, how far away am I? Right? See my feet? So if I'm sparring you, and there's only this much space between me and you, would you take the time to look at my feet to see what's going on? Or would you just notice that I'm close to you, right? When I shift my weight forward and I start to get here, and I crowd you, it creates a little bit of pressure to do something. Because if you do nothing, and I go forward, I'm right on top of you already, right? So by being this close and pushing forward, now I create that sense of urgency. People ignore this foot. See how far back this foot is? Watch my shoulders. All it does is make me get a little bit shorter. It doesn't change the distance I have. See that? I can sink this thing back. And now, when this person comes forward, if I just go like this, look at all that space I created. Really, really, really fast. Okay? So I'm going to bounce my toes. I'm going to start to shift my weight forward. Look at my weight. This foot is real light. And as soon as they go, I take this leg and I drive, and I kick. Now I have all that space I need. Okay, so practice shifting your weight forward, right? You're leaning all your weights on your front leg, and then step back and kick. Okay? So you're shifting it forward, boom, kick. Now, if you know you're distancing, and you have it down, and you don't need to step, what I can do is I can start to go here. Look what I did with this foot. Look at it. See that foot? It's faced away from my opponent. I have fought literally all over the world, and guess what? No one looks at this foot. They see that I'm really close. They see that I'm shifting my hips forward. I'm trying to rotate. And I got flexible because I do a lot of stretches, right? But I'm shifting my weight forward, and I'm leaning. So no one picks up on this. So when they come forward, I just kick. My hips are still behind my foot when I make contact. This way I can still stop the person from getting on top of me, right? So if that's not possible with your hips, you can go here, then just quickly turn, right? Just turn that foot. So here, turn and kick, okay? If I do the other side, same thing. Now I'm leaning. I'm shifting in, right? I might have my foot pivoted here, but it's very quickly going to be able to turn. So this is a drill to get used to. Weight on the front leg, weight on the back leg. Front leg, back leg. Look at all that space I create with not much motion. And when I go here, my hips are still between my heel and my opponent, so I don't get knocked backwards. So here, shift, quick kick, right? Here, kick, boom, right? Stick that foot out. Keep a slight bend in this knee for right now. Right, stop that person. here, weights on the front leg, give the appearance of less space. They take the bait, they come forward. We create lots of space very quickly. Bang through the side kick. So this is how I set up that defense. This is how I get that kick off in time. I don't stand really close like this with my feet, right? And then try to evade the strike and take this big step. Maybe too hard. I don't want to work that hard, okay? If we look at this thing from the same perspective of a defensive punch, I'm going to be here, right? Same thing, shift it forward. And then it's going to step back. So I'm going to have my weight here, and then I'll step back. Now I can create a lot of space with my face just by stepping out. So instead of starting my weight right in the middle of my stance trying to step, I have my weight on my front foot. And then I step, right? Weight forward, step. So now I create that space, but I start purposely my weight on my front leg, step back to create space. Now here's the fun part. What if we could do both of those last two techniques, right? For a matter of time, we can't get in all three. Last two techniques from the exact same position. So I'll show you on this line so you can see my feet. Front foot is sideways, okay? Back foot is pivoted towards my front foot on the same line. You're going to see this? Same line. And I shift forward. Now from here, I can step back and I can punch, or from here I can turn this foot and create space. Okay, so watch again. I just go down and turn my foot. That creates my space, my side kick. So if I'm here like this, I can step back and punch, right? Or I can turn and I can side kick. You guys see that with my feet? So I'm here, I'm facing the person. See how this looks? Back foot's pivoted forward. This foot's not going to be 90 degrees sideways. It's going to be slightly forward. So this way I decide to punch, my hips are okay. So here, punch or side kick. Now my opponent has to figure out which one when they come forward, right? So we're bouncing, we're faking it. If you're ever in this position and you keep doing this and you keep scoring defensive side kicks, defensive punches, and your partner becomes hesitant, then attack them, right? If I'm here and I can get right next to my opponent, then I go, right? So if I start to lean into my front leg and they won't come forward because they're afraid of what's going to happen, right? Then I'm here, then I go forward and I attack, right? I'm kind of shifting, defense, shift, defense. They start to get apprehensive, and then I go forward, okay? So you can start to play with this stance. Learn to do both of your techniques from here, and then you're going to be doing well. And then, like I said, your partners will become apprehensive. After you hit them with 13 defensive strikes, they're not going to run forward. They don't run forward, then you can start to attack, right? Because I get here, and they're like, no way, I'm going to get hit. So you get here, and they think, no way, I'm going to get hit. Well, now I can reach the person because they're being apprehensive, because they're stalling. They're waiting to see what I'm going to do, okay? And then for more advanced people, you get here, you can still hit that jump turn side kick off that same pivot when you practice it enough. Right, we're here, we can drop back hook kick. We can do lots of fun things. We're here, step back, drop back, hook kick. Eventually when you're here, you can quickly shift, and you can throw your ridge hands. So the drill would be to learn to practice the weight forward. Just practice that defensive motion, right? Here, jump turns, whatever it is you're going to throw. So the defensive action, we worked on the mechanics. Definitely work on your placement of your hips on your side kick to be able to stop people. Also your chamber, don't chamber less than 90 right now. Then try and lock your leg out at least a minimum of 135 when you're pushing. Okay, that'll give you a stiff arm effect. When you do the jump turn side kick, that's all really, it's just timing and distancing. It has nothing to do with your technique most of the time if you're good at it. Okay, and then practice shifting your weight forward to give the appearance of a lack of space. This is what will draw your opponent in to come forward and attack, allowing you to defend. And then watch other videos on framing, because framing is one of the essential keys that tells your partner where to strike, not just when and how, okay? Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully it helps. Think about that technique, break it down, practice with a cooperative partner first before you just jump into live action. Okay, attention position, touch your toes, touch your heels, point your fingers, curl your thumbs, hands on your side. Show respect, good bow. Thank you much for joining me today.